Welcome to Dixie
and the King. I'm an Elvis Tribute artist, rocking the cradle with a much younger wife.
and we are coming together to figure out this thing called life.
Take this journey with us through our unique and fascinating relationship as we tackle marriage, parenting, and spirituality.
We find ways to live a better life through our experiences and learn from professionals and everyday folks along the way, and how to thrive in today's world. Welcome to our very first episode of Dixie
And the King. My name is George Gray.
and my name is Dixie Gray. And today we just kind of wanted to give you a brief overview on what we are doing here and why we are bringing this podcast to you. So George?
Well, our lives are unique and fascinating, as you can tell of my hairstyle. I'm an Elvis Tribute artist, and my wife
Is not.
is not an
No.
Elvis Tribute artist, but she does work in a very important field, a field that I think has gotten, more important in child welfare, as we've seen, particularly during this COVID thing. And that's all going to be part of our broadcast or our episodes as well, as we start talking about what is normal life? Where did we come from? What are we adapting to? But before we really get into who we are, let's probably tell people why were we even considering a podcast.
Right. So I think that we have somewhat of a unique relationship. There's obviously an age difference between us. He's an Elvis Tribute artist. So, I get a lot of what is it like to be married to Elvis? So we think that that's interesting, but really after you get past the fact that he's an Elvis guy, I'm not, he's a few years older than me, we really are an average couple just trying to get through life, raising kids, working, being busy, trying to keep our relationship fun and alive. And we just think that if we can help somebody else maybe get through their day, either with humor by laughing at whatever we have going on, or maybe you learn something or get ideas from something we've gone through or professionals and guests that we've had on, we just want to brighten your day.
I think a lot of people have a really cool story out there, and ours is unique and fascinating, as I said earlier, but it's just like what she said. The things that we're finding in our relationship and comparing those with past relationships are what are the important things that need to be first and foremost. We're going to talk about our spirituality. We're going to talk about our health, the dynamics in our relationship. And we're also going to bring on some amazing guests that are going to deal with the emotional, the physical, the entertainment value of everything. We have so many wonderful people that we're going to bring on as guests in upcoming episodes. So really it's just to let people know that we're all basically the same. We all are looking for the same things in life, some a little bit more grand than others, and that's okay. So, having said that, like Dixie said, I'm an Elvis Tribute artist, and I'll get into a little bit. We'll probably dig a little deeper into that in future episodes. We don't want to give away too much right now, because then there's no reason to watch episode 2. So, yes, I am an Elvis Tribute artist. I have as my daughters like to make fun of me, I have a 17-member band, and we do big concerts. And part of that is true. I do have a big band for the big concerts. However, I also do smaller venues with just a small 5 or 7-piece band, and sometimes it's just me singing to soundtracks. I enjoy doing assisted living centers. So that's a little bit about the Elvis stuff. I'm also a radio DJ. I've been in radio for almost 20 years now, and started out in news talk radio, which is fun because you have to be up on local news and community events. And for the last 9 years or so, 2011, I got involved with a music radio station called Pirate 104.7 FM. It's out of Greeley, Colorado. There we play hits from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, mostly 70s and 80s soft rock. And that's a little easier. You're not delving into politics and world news as much. You're just having fun playing fun music. So I have that. I also have 2 daughters of my own, Morgan and Lauren, and they are not that much younger than my wife. So depending on when this actually gets out there, at this stage, on this date, my oldest is 32 and my youngest is 28. Colorado native. Mom remarried when I was 9. He worked for Uniroyal Tires. We moved to Thornton. He got transferred to Georgia, where I had to learn how to hate them damn Yankees. But I love Georgia. Georgia was a lot of fun. It was almost like being in Tarzan days. We'd pull vines away from trees and swing on those. We'd crawl underneath honeysuckle bushes and suck the nectar out of the flowers. And at home later we'd pull ticks off ourselves. Ran around barefoot a lot and went to a lot of Civil War battlefields. One story I like to tell, this is in elementary school. One of our field trips was to go see the movie Gone with the Wind. So there they were really still instilling what the South was, the emotion, the passion, and of course the war that eventually happened. Dad got transferred to Newark, New Jersey, so now I had to go up and live with those damn Yankees. But I got to tell you, just on my block, I think we had every race, every religious background of folks. So I got very well rounded in cultures and religions, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And then in about 1976, we moved back to Colorado, where my dad ended up working for a oil company. They actually sold products for drilling rigs and those kinds of things. And then I was in the car business for a short period of time, which I really enjoyed doing. I did mostly fleet and commercial. So I wasn't one of these guys that jumped on you when you walked onto the lot, though I did do that in my earlier career. So I really enjoyed selling to professional buyers. Plus, it really helped with my time with my kids at the time. When you're a regular salesperson, you're typically working bell to bell 6 days a week, and you end up missing out on after-school programs and those kinds of things. So moving into that, I was married previously, as I had mentioned, and was married for about 12 years. I was a senior in high school. She was a sophomore, and had two very lovely daughters, with Morgan being my oldest, and of course Lauren. Both of them are amazing kids, each one with separate talents, and just really enjoy those. And we can get into the divorce aspects as far as that, but met Dixie, oh man, I can't remember what year that was. We'll get into that a little bit, but we'll have Dixie tell you a little bit about herself.
Yeah, so my name is Dixie Gray, and I am 35 years old, and my husband here forgot to mention he's 60, so there's just a couple years between us. That might be more interesting later. But I was born here in Colorado in Wheat Ridge, and I grew up in rural Colorado. I graduated from a small high school, Valley High School, for any of those folks watching. I think I graduated with about 98 kids, and we came from 3 different towns to make up those 98 kids. I went to college my freshman year at the University of Northern Colorado. I really thought I wanted to be an accountant. My sophomore year of college, I followed my boyfriend at the time over to the Western Slope and finished my college career at Mesa State College. And now it's, elevated itself to Colorado Mesa University. I ended up finding out that accounting was not for me. It's crunching numbers, not my thing. I really enjoy people. I got hooked up with a foster care agency on the Western Slope and learned that I really loved working with kids. So I have a bachelor's in psychology, and I've worked in the child protection field for 16 years now. I started when I was 19, which seems absolutely crazy. I ended up getting married, and I think I was 23 when we got married, and had my first daughter, Grace, who is now 11 years old, and then my second daughter, Holly, who is 8, and they are just the light of my life, obviously, and I get a little emotional when I talk about my kids. But I found myself getting divorced at the age of 28 and decided that I really just needed to come back home. Both my ex-husband's family and my family live here on the eastern slope. So I moved back with my 2 girls, and they actually go to the same school district I graduated from. So that's kind of fun and interesting to see kids that were younger than me now teachers of my kids, and they are absolutely fantastic teachers. So yeah, then going through my divorce, I really leaned into my passion of fitness, and I did my first fitness competition in 2014, and that was such a great experience. I've done 2 since then and would love to get back to the fitness stage. Growing up, I was a gymnast for about 10 years. I was a competitive gymnast, and then was a college cheerleader, which any of my hardcore gymnasts out there, you know that those 2 things often don't go well together. I remember not being so nice to the cheerleaders as a gymnast, and then I went and I competed as one, and they are for sure real athletes.
Would you really say that?
I would really say that. I would say that I probably had more injuries as a college cheerleader than I did as a gymnast. Both very hardworking and just a little different, but definitely my passions in life are my family, and fitness keeps me sane. It really does. Like, I'm a much nicer person if I can go to the gym.
You know, I think just for fun too, I don't know, but we'll eventually get into a lot of those, like the Elvis stuff and the fitness competition that she did. And that's another area that we're going to talk about is the health aspects. I can tell you that whenever you see these bodybuilders, and what she did wasn't necessarily bodybuilding. You want to explain what fitness competitions are?
Well, so it was a bodybuilding competition, but the category that I competed in was fitness. So we had a 2-minute routine where we did, it's like dance, gymnastics, and 1-arm push-ups, splits. Like, you're really there to show your fitness ability. You don't just walk out onto the stage and show your amazing muscles.
It's like bodybuilding, but you put it to music.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to speak. And I don't know if we have a picture now, but we'll put up just of what she looks like. She actually looks really good. And I can tell you, and we're going to get into this with further podcasts, because I think this is really important, that I think a lot of people get kind of confused when they see the men's health or the women's health magazines, and they got these ripped bodies and everything. It says 6-pack abs, in 2 weeks type of a thing, that it's really not all that healthy. And so what we're going to get, that's some of the cool stuff we're going to get into. We're going to give some tips and some advice on how to get in shape and what actually it takes. Because I know for Dixie, whenever she's preparing for a fitness competition, you're 14 weeks out?
Yeah, it's a little more, but really it's a lifestyle change, and I obviously don't look like that right now. I have a 17-month-old son, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But, when I moved back over here, well, it was before I moved back, I had gone to one of George's concerts. A lot of people want to know,
how did we meet?
So I grew up an avid Elvis fan. In my family, I joke that you either loved Elvis or you hated your life. I remember waking up to Elvis blaring in my house, and I knew that it was cleaning day and that we were going to be getting up and cleaning the house as my mom was dancing and singing to Elvis. My grandfather absolutely adores Elvis and had been going to George's concerts at the Civic Center in Greeley since they started. And every year he invited me to go, and every year I declined because I did not want to see some guy get up and pretend to be Elvis. I love Elvis, and I had seen an Elvis impersonator in Vegas, and it was awful, and I thought that they were almost making fun of Elvis.
And bless their hearts, because they're keeping the music and the spirit alive. Some of them are very good, and some of them are very good. Some
are good. Unfortunately, the experience I had was not the best, and so for me, I didn't really want to go see somebody pretend to be Elvis. But I went one year, and I thought, I actually got front row tickets for my birthday, which was fun. But I sat up there and I thought, man, this guy's actually pretty good. And at the end of the show, he gets up and says, we would really like to expand and get out of the Greeley area. If you're looking for something, hit me up after the show. Yeah. So I did. I thought, oh man, this would be such a great experience for our foster parents. I worked for a nonprofit foster care agency on the Western Slope at the time, and I tried to hire him. Quickly realized we couldn't afford him.
Well, okay, so they couldn't afford us not because we were too expensive. It's just because of funding on the other side. So let me get into why I became an Elvis tribute artist, and that'll bring us up to where we're at now. So all through high school, I worked. I didn't do a lot with theater or sports. I played a lot of sports when I was younger. When we moved back to Greeley, it's all about because I wanted a car. I went to work, so I didn't do a lot of that stuff. wasn't really involved with theater at the time. I got involved with community theater when I was in my 30s, so that would have been several years after high school. And one night we went after rehearsal, went to a karaoke bar, and everybody was up there doing their songs, and they said, "Hey George, why don't you get up and sing a little bit?" And I thought, "Nah, I'm not a singer." So I decided eventually, after a couple drinks of encouragement, got up there and I'm skimming through the songbook, and there's some Elvis songs in there naturally. Now, let's backtrack. Like I said, my mom, well, she remarried when I was 9, and my stepdad, who's an amazing man and really took on a lot by adopting, not only getting married, but by bringing in a 9-year-old son into the mix, had all these albums. And so I listened to Peter, Paul, and Mary, the Kingston Trio, the Smothers Brothers, which is where I think I pick up some of my silly humor for radio, and Elvis. And I would play those albums over and over again from the age of, I think they got married and when I was just turning 10 all the way up until, whenever. So I knew the Elvis stuff. And by singing along with those, I was able to replicate a little bit of his vibrato and his style of speech, all that stuff. And so I get up there and I start singing Love Me Tender or Can't Help Falling in Love or Teddy Bear, one of those things. And people were coming up to me and said, "Man, you kind of sound like Elvis." Well, like I mentioned, I was working for a car dealership at the time, and that was back in the days. It was early to mid 90s, I believe, when Christmas parties, everybody would come and bring their families. So the company Christmas party was being planned, and the entertainment committee came up to me and said, "Hey, listen, we understand you do an Elvis tribute act." And I thought, no, I don't do that. Because I didn't want to. I didn't care, pretending to be Elvis. I enjoyed singing and started singing more, but mostly 70s and 80s songs, some earlier stuff. But on occasion, I do some Elvis stuff. They said, "Well, we would really like to have you come and do a little shtick for the company Christmas party." So I was approached by one of the chair people, and she said, "Hey, listen, if you do this, my fiance has an Elvis jumpsuit." And I thought at the time, what kind of geek would have an Elvis jumpsuit? And my hair at that time was short. I had it short. My natural hair color is very much like Elvis's. It's a medium brown. And I thought, well, I'll go ahead and do this. So I went to the truck stop and found a pair of the teardrop 70s style sunglasses and borrowed this jumpsuit. I put this fake hair on my chest and pasted on the sideburns. No, I did not have sideburns because I didn't know how to get those. Went out there and I did this whole thing with singing Are You Lonesome Tonight? And I was done with that. I was thoroughly embarrassed, did not want to do this thing, but I started getting phone calls. People saying, "Hey, listen, will you come and sing for my grandmother or a wedding anniversary," and that kind of thing. And I'm thinking, I just don't want to do this. And the little theater group that I was involved in, little community theater group, the seamstress or the costume designer said, "Listen, let's just make an Elvis jumpsuit for you." So she got the pattern. It was a one-size-fit-all. She did a great job on it. Wasn't like the professional stuff, and I'll get into that in later ones. And where do I get my jumpsuits? That's upcoming in other episodes. So here I have this jumpsuit, and people are calling me, and they're saying, "How much do you charge?" And I'm going, I don't know, $25. But I can specifically remember getting dressed up, standing at my front door looking up and down the street, making sure no cars are coming. I'd run out and get my truck and take off. And whenever I'd reach a stoplight or a stop sign, I was always panicking if somebody was going to pull up next to me and see me dressed up like this. Because once again, I didn't want to do this. Why I did, I have no idea. Anyway, this went on for years. And then Relay for Life come up to me and said, hey, listen, we have a young lady that is that's passing from her third bout of cancer. Her name is Edie. I still remember this. And she wants somebody to come in and sing Elvis to her. So that also can be used for another podcast down the road. I did it. Then I got a phone call from the Relay for Life and Cancer Society. People said, listen, would you be willing to do a 30-minute little program? So found a new costume designer locally, and so I had this black jumpsuit. And this was a Saturday morning, I think in June or July. The sun's coming up, I start sweating. So before I had a band, I'm doing all this with soundtracks, or karaoke music, if you will. And I'm out there doing my thing. This time I spray painted my hair black with that washable spray hair paint. I had the fake sideburns on, and I'm out there doing my thing. And I start to sweat. And I start getting these black lines running down my neck. And my sideburns are peeling off. So after every song, I'm sticking my sideburns back on and doing my thing. Well, that was such a hit that they decided, hey, next year we want you to be the show for Friday night, the big opening concert. So I did that for a couple years, and then I was approached by a local band. They said, hey, let's put together a little band. This is something kind of fun. The Elvis thing might be something, that people would like to hire for their entertainment, for their festivals and whatnot. And so started out our very first rehearsal. We're supposed to have like 5 or 6 guys. Well, they invited somebody, and they invited somebody. So I had trumpets and trombones and a keyboard. I had it all, and there was like 12 of us for our very first show. So that's kind of how the Elvis thing started. And now, I guess professionally, that was in the early to mid 90s. Now professionally, I guess, is when I started getting paid in the early 2000s. Been doing big Elvis gigs now, and I get my costumes made from a place back east, and we're gonna talk with them. We're gonna have them on a podcast, so that's gonna be really fun and exciting to find out, where did they get the rights and where did they get the patterns? The fascinating, Kim and Butch are their names with B&K Costuming. So we're gonna talk about them. But I met Dixie. I remember the first concert she came to. She's sitting in the front row, and then was it the next year you actually came and approached me afterwards about doing that? So that's kind of how we met.
Yeah, and when I decided, we kind of kept in contact, even though we couldn't afford him. And the reason we couldn't afford him, we really couldn't get anybody to work with us on the Western Slope, and to pay 16 people to drive 5 hours and to
hotel
spend the
accommodations,
night,
all that
and
kind of fun stuff.
We just didn't have the budget, but we stayed in contact, became just good friends. So when I moved back over this way and I was single, we just started to kind of hang out, and it was, hey, let's just go grab some dinner. Let's go to a movie. And we really just found that we enjoyed each other's company. We had a real honest friendship. And
had
it was
a lot of same common interests, I think.
Yeah, it was just easy to be with him. And, people will say, oh, I really don't see the age difference. And you think, yeah, right, how do you not see the age difference?
Because I think we all know that couple where the guy's really old and he's got a young trophy wife, so to speak. And we're thinking,
I'm not that girl.
yeah, no, she's the trophy wife, don't get me wrong. But I'm not the older guy with a big bank account, that's for sure. But now keep in mind, there's 25 years between us. So when I was 25, she was just born. So
because that doesn't make it sound weirder.
No.
But we really don't see the age difference. And when we first started dating, I think we did get a lot of the looks and the what are you doing and is this your daughter? But as people started to get to know us as couple, I think they started to understand why we were together. And I really do feel like we fit well together. We've been married for 3 years now.
Got married in 2017.
Yeah. And right before we got married, I just remember him looking at me one day and saying, we should have a baby. And I said,
Jokingly.
right. Yeah, he wasn't joking.
I was joking.
I thought he was joking for a minute. He
I
was
was
not joking.
perfectly good with my two
not
wonderful
joking.
daughters and your two wonderful daughters.
He wants people to think that it was my idea, but it wasn't. And so at first I told him that he was insane and lost his mind because I was done. I had 2 girls. He had 2 girls. We were good. And then I started to think about it a little bit, and obviously he won. We have a 1-year-old boy, so.
Which I can't imagine life without him. And he has become just a wonderful little ball of love, and is really, it was kind of really tied in my daughters.
Yeah.
And your daughters. It really brought us together as a family. And that's another episode when, what did my daughters think about? A, when I was getting ready to marry somebody that's not that much older than my oldest daughter. And then B, surprise, we're having a kid. So
You're gonna have a gonna have a sibling.
So that's gonna be a whole nother episode. But that's a little bit about us and where we're at. We really look forward to sharing our life experiences, the things that we've learned, and like I said, the wonderful guests. We have like one of our first couple guests. I guess we can go ahead and kind of promote that. Is the horse whisperer lady,
Michelle Steinmetz. We just adore her, and she is a therapist in town. She does equine therapy with my daughter. She's just fantastic, and you work with kids and even adults who they don't really want to talk to anybody about what they have going on, and so she has found this outlet that I can just personally attest to is absolutely phenomenal and amazing. She also is great with those kids. My youngest daughter does not like animals, which is interesting. I have kids on both ends of the spectrum, so she finds a way to work with her too, and I just think she's been so instrumental in helping my girls move forward with all the things that we've had going on. So yeah, she's great. Also, we are getting ready to travel to Costa Rica. And so after we get back, we will let you in on that experience, traveling out of country during the COVID-19 pandemic with a 1-year-old. And our travel agent, Amanda Owens, she has been fantastic through this whole crazy up and down experience. We're going to talk a little bit with Kathy Horning, which is one of the founding band members of the Elvis Band. And so she's going to kind of give us a glimpse in what it's like to work with George Gray, because I can tell you what it's like to be married to him. And
perfect. No issues whatsoever.
None at all.
I think we suffer with
perfect.
the same issues and problems as regular couples. And what it comes down to be honest with you, communication.
Right.
Because we communicate totally different. As you know, men, we're problem solvers. So women, not that they can't, but they need to express their emotional stability at that particular time.
Just interested to see how much more you keep talking. You should probably stop.
Am I wrong?
Anyway.
I guess I'm wrong.
Well, we hope that you join us. Our next episode, we're really just going to dive deeper into our relationship. We want to give you that good foundation of where it is that we come from, so that you know our background and where we're going in the future.
And like I said, there's our website is dixieandtheking.com. You can send us an email at contact@dixieandtheking.com. We'll have all the other platforms and podcast platforms. You'll be able to find ours, but mostly everything will be right through our website. But if you have some questions, we'd love to hear from you folks. And there's no topic that's out of bounds, because we do have those questions on occasion. People are, as they get to know you a little bit, they'll go, so, and we'll go, yes or no or whatever it is. So contact@dixieandtheking.com is the way you can send us an email. We look forward to sharing more of our life. And you can also, if there's a question you want, or if there's topics that you want us to cover, guests that you think would be kind of good for this particular podcast. Like I said, we're going to get into all kinds of aspects. The one that I think that maybe I had in my I have in this relationship that I didn't have in my past relationships is the spirituality aspect of it,
Right.
and how important it is to have faith. And so that's something that will definitely. I have a very knowledgeable gentleman who is my, I guess you can say my spiritual leader. I have a buddy, a Bible study once a week, every week, where I read a chapter of the Old Testament, a chapter of the New Testament, and how that's been going on for the past 2 or 3 years, and really how that's kind of changed my life. And that's the one thing that we also want to put forward is we all have skeletons, we all have things that we've done in our past, but we're not going to let our past define who we are now. And that
Right.
there is grace and forgiveness through our Lord Jesus Christ, through our faith, that has brought us to a different level of relationship. So anyway, that's just a little bit about us. Contact at dixieandtheking.com is our email. And we look forward to sharing the rest of our life. And we also would ask you, if you like what you've seen so far, send us an email. Let us know what you think, and whether it's good or not. I think it's pretty good. You?
I hope so.
All right.
All right.
Until next time, thanks for joining in.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Dixie and the King. We know there are possibly millions of podcasts out there, and we really appreciate you landing on ours.
We'd love to hear back from you with suggestions, episode ideas, and possible guests. If you'd like to connect to our guests, we would love to share their contact info with you.
Feel free to tell a friend and share our podcast with them.
To learn more and watch past podcasts, please visit our website, dixieandtheking.com.